Hello everyone, and welcome to another Cartoon Galaxy Rant. I'm Mars Moon, and I like to rant about cartoons. So, there has been a big question that has been going through my mind recently with all the new things going on within indie animation. Not bad things, good things, but it does make me wonder, and I've seen a lot of other people even ask the question as well. When does something suddenly stop becoming indie? There's two particular groups that come to mind when I have this question, and that is two of the major indie creators who have made themselves very popular through the years. That being Viziepop, who has her own little kind of company called Spindle Horse, and Glitch, who, as you may know, put out the amazing digital circus that has just finished its last episode, but made a lot in the box office with its theatrical release of said last episode. So I want to touch upon that because are they still indie? But before I get into indie animation and all of that, just a quick reminder, if you like my videos, feel free to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. As for those of you who have been following and watching, thank you so much. All your support really does help, and this channel and Cartoon Galaxy Rant would be nothing without you. Also, if you like my stuff, I do animations. Those are also on my channel besides the Cartoon Galaxy Rants if you're interested. I also have a Patreon where I post those animations as well as behind the scene content. You could support me there. If you become a patron, I have like some things where, you can get, behind the scenes stuff, early access to things, stuff like that. So yeah, figured I'd just share that with you guys. And with that being said, back to the video. To understand what makes something indie and what doesn't make something indie, we should probably look up the definition of indie. So, as usual, I did Google it. According to Wikipedia, indie animation, or short for independent animation, refers to animated shorts, web series, or feature films produced outside the traditional Hollywood studio system. Usually they're financed by crowdfunding, merchandising, or self-funding, instead of getting a corporate backing. So this is what Wikipedia, and I guess two other sources as well, now that I look at it, probably also the Indie Wiki and Reddit, I think. So it's actually came from a few sources, not just Wikipedia. But that's what they define as indie animation. It sounds about right because, it's independent from Hollywood, from the big industry. When you think about animation and how animation or any kind of entertainment media came about, animators, creators, they couldn't just put their work out there. There was no internet back then. So the only way they could really get their work out there is to make connections with the industry. Maybe they might start out with small positions as animators, storyboard artists, and then work their way up to the point where they pitch an idea and then finally get it out there. But they had to do it through these big industries like today, Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, you name it, DreamWorks. So, that's how it used to be. That was the only way you would get your stuff out there to the world. But thanks to the lovely internet, when it started getting introduced, it gave animators and creators the opportunity to be able to share their ideas, their work, their creations outside of those big industries, because all they had to do is just post it on a website. And I know some of the big ones was Newgrounds at the time, and when YouTube was starting out, YouTube. And, there was a lot of other platforms as well, but I know those two in particular were big at the time. Now YouTube seems to be the big handler of all the very independent animations that we know of. But yeah, makes sense. That definition does seem to fit. Now, they give a few other details, and again, this seems to come more from the Indie Animation Wiki. So other things they define as indie is if it's creator driven. So usually they're projects that are led by a small team or a single creator. Alternate funding. So again, they won't rely on studio budgets. Again, they will get their funding from Kickstarters or Patreon. Maybe they'll pay out of their own pocket. Platform distribution. So it's like I mentioned earlier, they're not going to be on network TV or out on the big screen or anything like that. They're going to be on smaller platforms. Well, I can't say YouTube is that small, but on more digital platforms like YouTube and Newgrounds, which I mentioned earlier. So the other thing that's interesting is they say that indie animation is also raw and experimental. So in other words, an indie animator will create things that fit their niche, may test the limits of, what they could create, whereas if you're creating something for a studio, obviously there's going to be limitations. The big wigs are going to say, well, you can't put that in there because of whatever reasons, maybe because of the rating system or who knows what, they just don't like it, it won't make us enough money, blah, 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 blah. But, if you're independent, you could do whatever the hell you want. With that being said, can we say that the two big people, or I guess Glitch is more of like its own little company now, but are they still indie? Do they actually fit those criteria? To this, I would say, once upon a time, let's actually start with VivziePop, for example. VivziePop definitely was indie. I recall seeing she, posted a lot of her stuff on YouTube. She did like her own experimental things. I remember seeing, videos with like animals singing the songs, and she did some other shorts as well. I remember watching before she eventually came up with the pilot for Has Been Hotel, and then subsequently Hell of a Boss. Everything was straight up on YouTube. Everything was, if she gained any funding, it was from her followers for sure. But is she indie now? Well, if I had to give my personal take on this, based off the definition of independent animation, as I had just described it, I would say no. I think she isn't indie anymore. And the reason I say that is because one of the big things that makes somebody indie is that they are not working with big studios. The trouble is, VivziePop does work for big studios. And actually, a lot of her big works are not really on YouTube anymore. Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel, the only way to access them is you have to watch it on Amazon Prime. The only Hell of a Boss stuff that's available is just the shorts. But if you want to watch the episodes, at least be on season 2. Because I think Prime picked it up once VivziePop started season 3. So if you want to watch, I think like now season 3 and everything, you got to go watch it on Amazon Prime. Has Been Hotel has just always been on Amazon Prime. So again, that's a big company. Amazon, she's putting her work on that platform. That's the only way you can access it. And therefore, she's getting her money and her budget and her funding for those shows from Amazon, and the people who are watching her show from Amazon. And I have no doubt in my mind that because it's being distributed through Amazon, that the bigwigs at Amazon probably have their regulations, and I'm sure they made changes. In fact, actually, I remember people complaining about some of the changes because when Has Been Hotel was released on Amazon Prime, the original voice actors that were on the pilot that was on YouTube were not on the Amazon Prime show. And we could guarantee that that was the decision of the executives at Amazon for sure, because I'm sure Vizzy would have had the original voice actors be on the show. Also, they changed up a lot of the designs. Now, I could say too that may have been Vizzy's choice, but I wouldn't put it past the people at Amazon maybe to be sticklers and be like, maybe got to change things a little here and there. So, that would kind of disqualify you from being indie. Another big thing is just recently, it's been announced that VivziePop is going to be working with Warner Brothers. I have to laugh because I can't tell you how many damn times I talk about frickin' Warner Brothers. But she's working with Warner Brothers in regards to a film that she's creating through Warner Brothers. So if you want to talk about not working for a big company, she's working with Warner Brothers. So yeah, I hate to say it, but I know people still like to refer to her as indie, but I don't think she's indie anymore. Once upon a time she was, but not anymore. Not to say, and I just want to add this before I get onto Glitch, it's not a bad thing. I don't want people to be like, oh, you're just trashing on VivziePop. It's not a bad thing. Vizzy started with indie, and it gained so much traction that she leveled up to where she is now. And you know what? If she's happy with it, great for her. And if the viewers and the fans are happy with it, great for them. There's no issue with it. Okay? But all I'm saying is that I know people still refer to her sometimes as indie, and I don't think she qualifies as indie anymore. She's kind of now at the corporate level. Now, Glitch is a little weird because Glitch doesn't work for any big companies. Now, you could say that, like for Digital Circus, that was on Netflix, so, I mean, that's one thing. But other than that, Glitch kind of does their own thing. They don't work for Warner Brothers. They don't work for DreamWorks. They don't work for anybody. They work for themselves. But here's the thing. After making a whopping amount of money in the box office from the Digital Circus, which, by the way, again, they were in the theaters. So if I'm gonna go back to the definition that was described for indie and the examples that were given to me that I mentioned prior, one of the things they do say is most indie is distributed mostly through digital platforms, not broadcasted on like bigger things like network television and I would presume probably big theaters. So could being in a big theater all over the world disqualify you from being indie? Possibly. Unlike VivziePop, who just does, she's kind of more her individual. You know, she has animators that work, you know, for her. But overall, she's the main creator. Every idea that is made by her. Every story, as far as I know. Glitch is a little different because they have not only animators that work for them, but they also have other creators work for them. That's why when you see things coming out by Glitch, it's not always, you know, the guys who run Glitch, it's their ideas. It's ideas from other creators. It's their designs. It's their stories. And then Glitch has their animators put that together. So Glitch kind of functions more as a publisher, I guess you could say. They help publish and put those works out for other creators to the public. So in a sense, they kind of function a little bit like the bigger companies, like Warner Brothers, like Disney, like, again, DreamWorks, like all those guys, because, you know, they can have different creators come in and pitch an idea with their own art style and whatever, and then they put the money and the animators into it and they create it. Glitch does the same thing. Now, way back, they would still be considered indie because everything was still put out on YouTube, and they were still making money through merchandising and probably through other forms of crowdfunding and all that. But I think the moment that they started acquiring money through that theatrical release, and garnered so much money at that, by the way, they are kind of getting to a higher level of success, to the point that now I think they have Disney and Warner Brothers and all those big corpos shitting their pants, because Glitch, if it continues to be this successful, might get to a point, if not already, to be at equal levels with these other companies. And if that is the case, if they are getting that successful and making that much money, which, hell, they made quite a lot, hard to say that they're indie. That's just my take on indie animation. I know a lot of people say Vizzy and Glitch are indie. I don't think they're indie anymore. But I do think that they have succeeded to a point where they have become something even greater, maybe, and could do amazing things with an animation. And we should still cheer them on for that. Keep in mind, there are still actual indie animators that are small that are on YouTube and create amazing stuff. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. I've been doing a lot of babbling. But now it's your turn to babble. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care and peace out. That's